After more than 10 years of global campaigning, 1 in 8 women just got some validation. The condition we've been calling PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, has been officially renamed, and the reason why tells you everything about how women's health has been misunderstood.
Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host Nikki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. All right, here's what caught my attention today. So PCOS is now PMOS. Polycystic ovary syndrome is officially being called polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. And before you roll your eyes at what sounds like academic hair splitting, this name change actually matters quite a bit. The Guardian science team covered this story, and what struck me is how long this took. Over a decade of global consultation. That's not bureaucratic sluggishness. That's how hard it is to change medical thinking when it comes to women's bodies. The old name, polycystic ovary syndrome, made it sound like this was fundamentally an ovary problem. Cysts on the ovaries, right? Except that's not really what's happening. The condition is actually caused by high levels of androgens, male hormones that women also produce. Those elevated androgens can lead to irregular periods, weight gain, excess hair growth, and yes, sometimes cysts on the ovaries. But the ovaries aren't the root cause. They're more like an innocent bystander getting blamed for the whole mess. The new name, polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, acknowledges that this is actually a complex metabolic and hormonal condition that affects multiple body systems. It's not just about reproduction. It affects how your body processes insulin, how it stores fat, how it regulates hormones across your entire endocrine system. This matters because names shape how doctors think and how patients understand their own bodies. When something is called polycystic ovary syndrome, the focus stays narrow. Fix the ovaries, regulate the periods, done. When it's called polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, suddenly you're looking at the bigger picture. You're thinking about metabolism, insulin resistance, long-term cardiovascular health. For the 1 in 8 women dealing with this condition, that shift in perspective could mean earlier diagnosis, more comprehensive treatment, and maybe finally some answers that actually address what's happening in their bodies instead of just managing the most obvious symptoms. Now, speaking of complex hormonal interactions that we're just starting to understand, there's some fascinating new research about something called the estrobolome. Yes, that's a real word, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The part of your gut microbiome that interacts with estrogen. This study, published in the journal Menopause, looks at how the bacteria in your gut might be influencing your menopause symptoms. We already know that estradiol levels drop during menopause, and that affects pretty much everything. Your temperature regulation, your metabolism, your bones, your mood, your brain function. But what researchers are discovering is that your gut bacteria play a role in how your body processes and recycles the estrogen you do have. Some gut bacteria can actually break down estrogen metabolites and make them available for your body to use again. Others can interfere with that process. The researchers are suggesting that the composition of your gut microbiome during menopause might influence how severe your symptoms are and which systems get hit hardest. This connects 2 of the biggest trends in health research right now, the microbiome and hormones. And it opens up some interesting questions about whether targeting gut health could actually help manage menopause symptoms. We're not talking about replacing hormone therapy with probiotics, but maybe understanding why some women have an easier transition than others. The research is still early, but it's the kind of systems thinking that we're seeing more of in women's health. Instead of treating menopause as just an estrogen deficiency that you either replace or suffer through, researchers are looking at all the interconnected ways that hormonal changes ripple through your body. Which brings me to the third thing that got my attention today. There's new research looking at why experienced women physicians are leaving academic medicine at disproportionate rates during what should be their most productive years. And the researchers have a theory about what's driving this exodus that most institutions are completely ignoring. The study, also published in Menopause, argues that the menopause transition, which typically happens between ages 40 and 55, converges with existing workplace inequities to create a predictable pattern of women checking out or leaving entirely. These are women at the peak of their expertise, with decades of training and experience, and they're disappearing from academic medicine right when their contributions should be most valuable. The researchers point out that menopause symptoms like brain fog, sleep disruption, mood changes and fatigue can make the already intense demands of academic medicine feel impossible. Add in the fact that women in these roles are often dealing with less institutional support, more administrative burden, and fewer advancement opportunities than their male colleagues, and you've got a perfect storm. What's particularly frustrating is that this is entirely predictable. Menopause isn't some random health crisis that strikes without warning. It happens to roughly half the workforce at a predictable age range with well-documented symptoms, but most institutions act like it's completely outside their awareness or responsibility. The authors argue that academic medicine is losing critical expertise and institutional knowledge because they're unwilling to acknowledge that biology and workplace equity intersect in ways that affect career trajectories. They suggest that supporting women through the menopause transition isn't just the right thing to do. It's essential for maintaining a skilled workforce. This resonates beyond academic medicine. How many industries are losing experienced women during their peak productive years because they refuse to acknowledge that hormonal changes can temporarily affect work performance, and that with some basic accommodations, these women could continue contributing at high levels? It's the same systemic thinking we're seeing with the PCOS name change and the estrobolome research. Instead of treating women's health issues as individual problems that women need to manage privately, researchers and advocates are pushing for recognition that these are predictable, manageable conditions that affect how women move through the world. Makes you wonder how many other areas of women's health are still stuck with outdated names, narrow thinking, and institutional blind spots that we're just starting to recognise.
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.